Dr. Andrew Fielding will be talking on the ACPSEM proposal for professional training and certification. He's a current senior lecturer and course coordinator of the Master of Applied Science in Medical Physics at the Queensland University of Technology in Brisbane and lead of the professional training and certification subgroup of the ACPSEM Particle Therapy Working Group. So, Andrew, welcome.
Okay, great. Thanks to the previous speakers. It was very interesting to hear what some of the other groups have been doing in the training and certification space. I'm going to speak on behalf of the ACPSEM and in particular the Proton Therapy Working Group and the subgroups that I'm leading on training and certification for medical physicists. So I'm going to give a bit of a background to the training or to the role of the training and certification subgroup within the broader proton therapy working group. I'll say a little bit about the sort of multi-level model that we've approached for training and certification of medical physicists in particle therapy. And then I'm going to focus really on the first introductory level of an online learning module that we're close to finishing that will be available soon for medical physicists. And I'll give a bit of a live demonstration on the website of that. So a bit of context for this. So we had a proton therapy working group of the ACPSEM for a few years now. It was sort of brought together really about the same time as the funding was confirmed for the Adelaide Bragg Centre. And I'm just going to focus, we have terms of reference, obviously, and I'm going to focus on two, which sort of give the context for the training and professional certification subgroup, because I think right from the outset, we've sort of recognized that accrediting and certifying medical physicists in particle therapy was going to be quite important. So one of the first actual terms of reference is to develop recommendations to the College Board with respect to training and education requirements in support of Australia's proton therapy implementation and development of education and awareness programs for the broader college membership and to educate and equip members to be able to participate in and influence the implementation of the sort of patient referral and registry networks that we've heard about already today. So this is sort of in the run-up to Adelaide coming online. So the Proton Therapy Working Group has a number of subgroups, and you can see them listed there. And one of them is, of course, the Training and Professional Certification Group. I'm the sort of the lead of this, but it's been very much a team effort. But this is a list of members who are involved in this subgroup. So I guess, why do we need specialized training and certification in particle therapy for medical physicists? Well, although we're using ionizing radiation to treat patients with cancer, there is a lot of similarity with what we all have experience in with photons and electrons, but there's also enough that's different to sort of warrant some sort of special recognition and certification of medical physicists in particle therapy. So, examples of differences in some of the physics and radiobiology, the accelerator and delivery technology can be quite different. Treatment planning, we've heard already about, how some of the models that we've used for a long time around things like PTV, these break down when we start to think about proton therapy. And also some of the dosimetry protocols, these have to be adapted for, the delivery technologies that we use. The current Training Education Accreditation Program, or TAP as I'm going to refer to it, this actually currently has limited reference to particle therapy or proton therapy. We also realized quite early on that medical physicists in Australia are going to need sort of different levels of training and certification depending on their role. Another thing is that, which I think was raised in the previous talk, was that there are some analogies in specialist areas which do already have their own certification processes. So, for example, brachytherapy, that's about to be the case for medical physicists, and mammography, just two examples. So straight on to the sort of model that we adopted, we realized it was going to be multi-level for that, depending on the sort of different roles and levels of involvement in particle therapy. So the sort of entry level is level 1, and that's what we've been working on in the last 12, 18 months. And this is the level of knowledge that and skills that all radiation oncology medical physicists, we believe, or ROMPs, are going to need in particle therapy. So this is going to include any new registrars who might be entering the training program, current registrars who are already in the training program, and also medical physicists who are already certified and in the program. They're going to need some, they can do this as continuing professional development, CPD. There's then going to be a group of medical physicists who are going to be more regularly and actively involved in the patient selection and referral network. And we sort of said that they're going to need a higher level of knowledge and skill set in particle therapy. And we said that we're going to have to develop something at what we're calling level 2, which will build on level 1. And then finally, there's going to be a smaller group of radiation oncology medical physicists who are actually going to be working in a particle therapy facility. And initially, this is just going to be Adelaide. There's also another group which will have to be taken into consideration. That is migrants to Australia, medical physicists come into Australia to work, who maybe have no particle therapy experience, but only experience in protons and electrons. Or alternatively, they could come, spend a significant amount of time already working in particle therapy centers and have a lot of experience. So we're going to have to consider these at some stage, but there are already processes that the ACPSEM has in place for dealing with and recognizing prior experience. So some of those processes are going to be able to be adapted for particle therapy. So just to confirm, we've got this 3-level sort of model that we're going to use, where basically everybody is going to need to be at level 1, all medical physicists, level 2 for those who have more involvement in the selection and referral, and then level 3 for those who are actually working in a particle therapy center. The ACPSEM already has a learning management system that it's recently introduced for the training, education, accreditation program. It also has a few other training courses which it runs through this platform called Comet. I'll give a demonstration of this in a minute, but you can see there my version of it anyway has got the particle therapy online learning modules listed under a sort of my courses section. All the work we've been doing in this, we've been developing the content, but we've been working closely with an organization called Medcast, who have a lot of experience of developing online learning programs for particularly the allied health and medical world practitioners. So this is an overview of the sort of, we've divided it up into 4 modules. The first one is very much introductory and an overview, sort of setting the context of why, the clinical rationale, for example, the evidence for using proton radiotherapy. So this is just to set the scene and to sort of, give the medical physicist background in understanding why a patient could benefit from proton therapy. So Scott Penfold and Alex Santos have been developing this content. We then have a module which is more fundamental physics and radiobiology. I've been involved in developing that along with Michael Douglas. We have a module on beam delivery systems, and this also includes reference dosimetry. So that's had Ursula Yellen, Stephen Dowdle, and Duncan Butler from Panzer as well has been involved in the reference dosimetry part of that. And then finally, a treatment planning module with Stephen Dowdle and Jonathan Sykes, and that's including things like robust optimization, which Jonathan has already sort of spoken about earlier today, and also comparative planning. So I'm just going to switch to my browser and just give you a quick sort of not demonstration, but just show you. So this is the sort of front when you land on when you click through from Comet, this is where you land. There's a sort of welcome section. Scott Penfold gives an introduction there to the course. I'll show you, if we click on the first module, the person, the student can sort of work their way through. And you'll notice that for each sort of, there's divided up into parts so that people can sort of do a part of it, and sort of recognize that people maybe don't have large amounts of time to sit down and do it all at once, so they can go through in sections. At the end of each section, there's a short sort of multiple choice quiz that they have to complete. And there will be, if you notice along the top there, you can see there is an evaluation and a certificate that's provided at the end to provide evidence that they've completed the course successfully. So if we just sort of click on one of them, I'll just show you the sort of way that it's set up. So it's all quite interactive. We have a combination of sort of short videos that we've prepared that give a bit of a background. I won't spend too long on that, and then they just sort of click their way through, and then there's some interactive activities as well. They can click on and find out more if they need to. So they just sort of work their way through it progressively. Short videos. We didn't want to have, we tried to avoid having sort of, hour-long online lectures. So it was split up into these nice bite-sized chunks that people could complete, so in their own time. And so you just sort of click through, and there's lots of these sort of interactive activities. Okay, so all the modules are pretty similar in the way they're set up, and you can just work through and complete them. And at the end, complete the quizzes, and at the end, you'll get a certificate to say that you've successfully completed. So in terms of who's going to do this, well, the idea is that sort of every medical physicist would do this, so that everybody all the medical physicists, radiation oncology medical physicists anyway, have a baseline sort of knowledge in particle therapy. So obviously the groups we're going to want, there's a requirement to complete this for existing and new registrars. The training program is currently being reviewed, and we're going to be putting particle therapy content, more of that particle therapy content into this training and education program. So this will be a requirement to complete this for people who are new into the program, and also those who are currently enrolled. And this course will enable them to, if they complete this course, it will meet those requirements. They can upload the certificate into their TIAP sort of log on the Comet system. For the certified medical physicists, they can do this as part of their CPD. There's a new framework about to be introduced in the next year or so, and completion of this module will, the certificate that they get can be used as evidence of CPD. And this is going to be a requirement for completion, or it's going to be required that you complete this if you have any sort of ambitions of progressing to level 2 and level 3. And there will be a cost for people doing it as CPD, not for registrars. There's no cost to registrars, but for members and non-members, and also there's a reduced rate for students. So just to summarize, we're getting close to, we're just doing a final bit of work on the fourth final module. We're pretty much finished this first level 1 online learning module. It's pretty close to being ready to go live. So it's been developed for medical physicists, but I guess there's no reason why it couldn't be extended to be used for non-physicists. It's delivered through the existing ACPSEM learning management system, Comet. It's designed for TIAP registrars and also certified ROMPs already in the workforce. And the idea is that it ensures a basic level of particle therapy knowledge for all ROMPs, and provides this base for progression to level 2 and level 3 education and training in particle therapy. And that will be the next, once we've completed this level 1 stage, we will start to think about how we're going to implement the higher level training modules. So watch this space. Thank you. And just to acknowledge all the members of the training and certification subgroup, and Duncan Butler's come on board from our Panzer to help us with the reference dosimetry work. James Landrigan in particular, he's been sort of our point of contact with Medcast and doing a lot of the work for them, but I'm sure there's people in the background helping him. And we also got to acknowledge the Department of Health's specialist training program for funding for allowing us to implement this training program. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I found that talk really interesting. You've answered two of my questions I had, which is, how did you fund this? And there's two ways. There's obviously seed funding, but also the ongoing cost to access the program and whether or not non-ROMs can access the course. I think at least accessing level 1 would be useful for both radiation oncologists and RTs in the country. Are there any other questions from the floor to Andrew or indeed any of the other speakers? We have one coming up. Just introduce yourself again, Matthew.
Hi there, Andrew. It's Matthew Jennings here, medical physicist at the Royal Adelaide. Just wanted to say that that looks fantastic. So thank you to you and the team, and I'm very keen to see this course once it's available. Also, perhaps it's premature, but I'm curious if you've got any initial thoughts on assessment for level 2 and level 3. In a country without a proton beam therapy centre available to train on.
Yeah, I guess that's going to be quite difficult, until Adelaide comes online and starts treating, particularly level 3, I guess. I think we've already implemented something which is going to help with this, and that is an annual fellowship which will fund from the college, which will fund someone to go and spend time overseas. Unfortunately, we sort of, the first call, someone was awarded it, sort of coincided with the start of the COVID pandemic. So I'm not sure that anyone's actually been able to take full advantage of that. But that would be, I think, an important part of that, particularly for people who want to progress to level 3, is that they spend some time at an overseas centre. And in particular, one thing we sort of said, that there's going to be a role for, there's already a lot of quite nice courses in existence around the world that people can attend. So the idea would be that someone would go and spend some extended time at an overseas centre, and part of that would be that they would do an Estro course or a PSI course, and that would give them that sort of next level knowledge. But at the end of the day, there's no, if you want the level 3, there's really no substitute for experience in the clinic. But yeah, that is something we're going to have to work through and find a solution to.
Thanks, Andrew. Are there any other questions online, Matt? No. Any other questions from the floor? All right, so why don't we put our hands together just one more time for the last 4 speakers.